Arana.
Patrick Mahomes is basically God playing quarterback.
Chiefs Kingdom
Live!
They want it. They want it.
Now, when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper. You go get it.
That's the difference here right there, baby.
Yeah, we're not having a snowball fight.
He'll get handled when he gets handled.
The Lombardi Trophy has a red and gold reflection. Touchdown! Kansas City! One of the greatest duos in the history of the National Football League. Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce. Do it live! Let's go! You gotta fight for your right to party!
Let's go!
Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. It's Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, real quick, if you wouldn't mind, before you forget, make sure you click and tap that like, and you click and tap that subscribe. Make sure you tell a friend, tell a family member, tell some Chiefs fans. Help spread the word. We'd really, really appreciate it. We got a good show. Chiefs draft is in the books. Made 7 picks. There's a lot of people really hyped about this draft. We're going to talk about it, the highlights, maybe some of the places we were expecting or hoping the Chiefs to go a little different. Make sure if you're watching and if you got a question or you got a comment, throw it up there in the chat. Looking like, from what I can see around the share your referral link thing that's back, Big Doug's in here. I think I saw Laney. I got to figure out how to get rid of that, man. That's annoying as hell.
Hey,
really appreciate everybody checking in. Before we get into it, fellas, how we doing tonight? Nick, you doing good?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're in full swing of spring here. We got all of our stuff kind of getting ready for summer, and Chiefs, I said, like my thing says, moderately happy with the draft. I think we got some good pickups there, addressing some definite needs, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing real well. Just enjoying this nice, cool spring weather. We're actually having a spring before summer. It seems like the last couple, 2, 3, 4 years here in KC, man. It was like straight from winter to summer. Like it was 20 and then it was 95. But yeah, I'm doing good. The draft went fairly well for the Chiefs. A few gripes, but overall, I thought it went well. We'll talk about that. Bo, how you feeling? How you doing, man?
doing excellent. Yeah, doing excellent. It looks like it's spring here, but it's like 55 out. I'm trying to put on the illusion that it's spring as well. It's one of those ones here in Utah where it's still winter, but no, I'm doing excellent, man. Happy with the Chiefs draft. My gripe's a small one, so I'm one of those people that's pretty stoked with what they did. But yeah, doing good. Yeah, let's get this show on the road.
Let's do it. The big news, obviously, is always going to be the first round draft selection. There's a lot of talk about what the Chiefs would do, who would be available. There was some names of guys that had slipped for whatever reason or another. Would this guy be there? What should they do? The pick ends up being the much discussed Josh Simmons, tackle out of Ohio State, who is a guy that I don't want to say overwhelmingly like the sentiment is, but at least online from what I've seen from quote unquote experts is he is the top tackle talent in the draft, or at least like a top 2 or 3 tackle talent in the draft. Obviously fell because of the injury he suffered last year in his junior year. Patellar tendon injury. That's a tough one to come back from. Can be tricky. Other teams chose to pass. Maybe they didn't like what they saw in the medicals. They were picking a little bit earlier than the Chiefs, so maybe there was another guy there, so they had other options. Kind of hard to say, but it ends up being the left tackle. Overall thoughts, Bo? I know on last week's preview show, you were kind of leaning that you thought that the Chiefs were going to trade up for a tackle or they would take Simmons if he fell. He fell. He was there. They actually moved back a spot with the Eagles. such a bizarre trade. Like, did the Eagles really
Yeah,
think the Chiefs
yeah.
were going to take that linebacker? I don't know it. Do they feel bad about that ass whooping they put us in the Super Bowl? I don't know, like,
Hey,
where that
There's a
came
5th
from.
round pick.
But Bo, what do you
Get
think
yourself
about that
something
pick,
nice.
man? How excited are you about Josh Simmons being Chief?
stoked with it, man. I think he fell. I mean, like, yeah, there's that injury concern, but you know, with doctors looking at him at the combine and at pro day and stuff, he passed all of his physicals and everything. Everything seems to be checking out okay. It is a concern. I'm sure they're going to monitor it, and they're not just going to throw him to the wolves, right? They'll ease him in there. They'll get him up to speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it fills a much needed position that we man, that was one of the chinks in our armor right there. Is just our offensive tackle. All of our tackles and just our O line in general. So yeah, it really does us wonders there. Like really filling in some gaps there. Yeah, not enough great things to say about the guy. If you watch his highlight reel, he is just a dog. He just literally pushes guys over, gets out, can really set the edge. Big arms, right? Like they've measured him. He's got the arm strength. He's got the attitude. I'm stoked at this pick for sure.
There's our man Nico in the chat. Good to see you. His team was like, they were like the belle of the ball, man. Everybody's talking about the Browns crushed the draft. Nico, what do you think about the draft for your Browns? Throw up your letter grade or how you feel about it there in the chat.
No
Nick
Travis
Josh,
Hunter, man. Oof.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
Nico is
smart
saying
move.
he thinks that their draft was legendary. So
Okay, good.
He got ranked pretty high.
Is that
Shooter
good? So
fingers
he's
shut.
happy. So he's happy with the draft, or is that a little shade at the we'll
that
get,
was a
man, we
Shedeur
might talk
Sanders
about
joke.
that. We might.
Sorry,
talk about
that's
that
he didn't say that. I just made that up.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I can't tell because, like I said, I have this share my referral link blocking my view of the chat over here. So, Nick, Josh Simmons, how did you? Well, I kind of know how you feel. Tell the folks at home because I was sitting on the couch next to you when the pick was made. Tell the folks watching at home how you feel about Josh Simmons there in the first round.
Yeah, man, I think that's exactly what the Chiefs needed to do. I think I said it on the show. They've got to address that spot. I mean, I jokingly said for 2 weeks to just draft all offensive linemen until we get this figured out. It is like the only thing that can really stop Patrick Mahomes is not having any protection, especially on that left side. You see, he's not quite the same player when he, they don't have stability there, right? And they didn't have stability there all last season. It ended up resulting in what we saw in the Super Bowl. But yeah, look, I think that if you can get a guy of that caliber, 32nd plus a 5th round pick in the draft, like you now get the 5th year option. I don't know if that was like a little bit of okey doke from Brett Veach there being like, hey man, like we got people looking to trade up with us, and the Eagles are like, fine, here, just take a 5th round pick, right? I don't know what that was. It is always weird when you see a team trade up one spot, but I think that's exactly, they're not sexy, right? Like getting an offensive lineman with your 1st round pick isn't sexy, but like neither is paying your mortgage, right? But like you got to pay your mortgage or else like you're out on the street. So like that's the way it is with your linemen too. That's like where the game is won and lost is at those lines. So I'm happy with that pick for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad pick. It's encouraging seeing. I feel like after the pick was made, I started seeing a lot more people saying that he's like a consensus top tackle in this draft, and he would have been a top 5 pick, or he would have been the first tackle taken if it wasn't for the injury. The injury worries me a little bit at that position, being that big of a guy, right? Is a huge dude.
Big dude, yeah.
Other teams, they don't trust their medical staff, or the other team's medical staff's like, that's stay away from that. I don't know. There's definitely like risk, right? You guys both agree it's somewhat of a risky pick.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely.
Nick, I mean,
it's once I know it's a 1st round pick, but it's one spot above a 2nd round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, for there's obviously some risk, but I don't think I think it's a mitigated risk based on where you picked him, right? And the fact that you also picked up another 5th round pick, by moving back. I think that from what I heard the Chiefs looked extensively into the injury, and they felt confident picking him. I know your point, Scott, is like if it was that solid and he was the best guy at that position in the draft, like why didn't he go sooner? But I mean, I think that the Chiefs, we talked about this, but like they already had a plan, right, for at least the first part of the season until he gets, back to probably 100% and he can, start competing for a starting job. So I think that they were just in a unique position, and I think it was just really fortuitous that he fell there. So,
yeah, look, there's also a lot of question as to when he's going to be able to play. Andy Reid saying, he'll be ready for training camp. This is a 6-month injury. People have said that. Then there's people like, no. This is at least a year. Chiefs will be lucky to get him on the field at any point this coming season. You brought in Jalen Moore. You paid him a significant amount of money to come in and play tackle. I've seen people say, well, if Jalen Moore comes in and plays well, then you can just move Simmons to right tackle after Juwan Taylor leaves next year. If the guy ends up playing right tackle and you picked him as your first-round pick, that's a bad pick. So I don't know. To me, it's just it seemed like you'd brought a guy in, and if that guy works out, then the pick isn't as good. If he doesn't work out, is the guy even going to be ready to help this year, which now you're in the same predicament you were in last year? This year, I don't know. I feel like the same people that were saying it's an urgent need and it's the Chiefs have to fix left tackle are cheering on a pick of a guy who might not even be able to play until the year after next, right? Like coming up. So if the guy turns out to be a top 3 or top 5 tackle in the NFL and he protects Patrick's blind side and he doesn't give up a sack like he's promised not to for the next 4 or 5 years, then yeah, I think it's the right pick. To me, most of my issue is I felt with the wide receiver, Luther Burden, who had kind of fell down there. Going before last year was the consensus number 1 wide receiver that people were saying was going to be picked. I want Patrick to have weapons, and I want the offense to be electric. So they went with the tackle. They didn't pick the wide receiver. I'm not saying it was a terrible pick. It just kind of, there's a couple aspects to it that kind of leave me scratching my head. I mean, Bo, do you think he plays this year? I mean, is this a project guy for down the road? What do you think about Simmons? When do you see him on the field for the Chiefs?
Yes to both, right? Does he play this year? Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. Like Nick was pointing out, right? This is just one pick above a second round pick, and it's like, do you really have the bar set that high that your first round pick should be out there, making moves and being a game changer right away? And there's guys that are doing that. I don't know if he's that guy, especially with that injury concern. I do kind of see him more as like a project position, but like maybe right off the bat. I mean, we had to patchwork our O-line so bad last year that I think adding depth there is the right move in that sense. Maybe not in that exact position, but giving up an all-star like Joe Thuney, your offensive line doesn't get better when you do that. You just need more depth, and you need more people to be able to fill some of those positions. So who knows, like if he even plays tackle, like maybe even a guard position to start out, then move him around to tackle. Like who knows what they have in store for him. We were kind of talking about this before the show, like regarding his injury though, could it be a 6-month injury to a year injury? I mean, it's one of those things. Is it for a regular person or is it for a professional athlete, right? Like we saw like Aaron Rodgers come off an Achilles tear. And everybody's like, oh man, he might not even come back or let alone start the season. And there he was, like throwing passes, And so like with the resources that NFL players get with the doctors and the training staff that they have and the training regimens they go through, I mean, it's likely that he's fine and ready to go week 1. Whether or not he's the starter and pans out, that's just hard to say with any draft, I mean, like last year we had 2 out of 7 kind of hit. Like I can kind of think like Jaden Hicks and Xavier Worthy. Other than that, like none of the other guys kind of panned out, So it's always a crapshoot, more or less, with the draft. But I think we see him play. I think we see him be at least more effective than some of the alignment we saw this previous year.
Sorry, man. Nico in the chat there saying Jalen Moore sucks. I don't know that you can tell if he sucks or not. I mean, he was a backup, but he was a backup to one of the best left tackles of all time on the 49ers. I've heard a lot of people say he's really good. So, yeah, look, I just, with the question marks are going around and bringing Jalen in and like kind of like this sure uncertainty of when he's going to be able to play, I just feel like maybe the Chiefs could have gone somewhere else. If Jalen Moore's not good this year, maybe you try to get a tackle the following year in the draft. But you're definitely you're not going to get a consensus top 3 or a top overall tackle if you're the Chiefs and you keep picking at the end of the draft. So again, not a huge gripe, like I said, on my part on the pick. I was just kind of hoping they would go with something that might be able to help them a little bit quicker. The wide receiver position, Patrick's been wanting to air it out. Going into next season, I feel like it's Groundhog Day here, right? It's like deja vu all over again. We're going to have Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy going into next year. It's like, well, Rashee Rice is still coming off a significant injury last year. He's going to have some sort of suspension, I feel confident saying, this year. Hollywood Brown, if you're banking on that guy playing an entire season, I think that's a bit of a pipe dream. That's wishful thinking. He has been held back by injuries his entire career. So now you're kind of back in the same boat you were in last year, right? I don't know. The Jalen Moore pick was not – I think Bo's muted, or I can't hear Bo.
I was muted, sorry. I think we all want to see Mahomes air it out. I think there's no debate about that, right? But it's hard to watch him scramble and have happy feet the second he gets the ball, right? Not feel comfortable behind his own line, and no chance to air it out, right? So I think it's a good move to actually make that happen. Let him feel comfortable back there, get him some good protection, and let's get that ball going again.
Nico, I don't know that just because you don't want to put in a guy as a backup who hasn't played in a significant amount of time up against Myles Garrett means he sucks. I don't know. An 80% Trent Williams being better than 100% Jalen Moore doesn't necessarily mean the guy's terrible going up against one of the, if not the best pass rushers in the NFL. So I don't know that you can really use that as a barometer of the quality of Jalen Moore, but time's going to tell. And look, Andy Reid said he's going to be ready for training camp. He's going to be ready to play this year. I've just seen a lot of things contrary to that, saying, well, hold on, you might want to back off that a little bit. So we'll see. You guys, second round pick here. You guys want to go pick by pick, or?
Yeah, sure. Or we could do like an overall thing. I don't know. Are you guys familiar with all the picks?
I mean, somewhat familiar.
I didn't watch the whole draft. I just kind of.
No, I mean, I didn't watch the whole draft. I saw all the picks. I know the second round pick the Chiefs had there. The first one was the defensive tackle out of Tennessee. A lot of people are excited about that guy. People were kind of surprised that he fell down as much as he did. Defensive tackle's position with Chris Jones getting older. You've got Charles Omenihu at zero on a 1-year deal. If he can play a full year and be good there, you might have the guy that you could extend. Furious George got the 5th-year option picked up on him, so you're looking pretty good at edge. Bo, what do you think about that pick, defensive tackle, the guy out of Tennessee? Do you like that second round?
Yeah, Norman Lott, right? Really, really like it. Again, watching the highlight tapes of him, just another dog, man. Just a guy with that attitude that you want. I think he led the team in tackles last year and sacks the year before that. So just up there, getting playing on a big team with some big guys, right? I think the number one concern on his end was the number of snaps he played, but I think it was just more of Tennessee's MO to cycle guys out and kind of do load management for everybody, and so everybody on that team kind of has deflated numbers in that sense. But no, I mean, if you it's a highlight tape. It is what it is. Right? They're not going to show lowlights, but yeah, I'm stoked with what he can bring and just add on to that inside pressure.
Yeah. Nick, defensive tackle. I don't know if you watched a lot of tape on Norman Lott, and you're real familiar with his game. So.
Yeah, no, I mean,
why don't you give us an expert breakdown?
Fortunately, I did not. Yeah, I mean, I can't talk about his 3 technique or anything. But look, I think that's another position in need, right? I mean, really, the only position in need that I talked about prior to the draft that I feel like we didn't address was looking at like a potential Travis Kelce replacement, right? And who's going to be taking over for him in a couple of years, 3 years when he's retiring and going to a full-time podcaster. But like, yeah, I think that, you're looking at Chris Jones, 31 years old. And this is another shot in the arm for the line. The Chiefs did not have a lot of sacks last season. And all the help they can get up front there is just going to help them, in like it's winning the line of scrimmage, right? I mean, it's really like excuse me just a second, guys.
Bless you.
Like if you look at where they struggled last year, it was on the line. So got to get some water.
Yeah. Tershawn Wharton leaves, goes to the Panthers, got a payday. So
similar to Turk. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Defensive linemen get me choked up.
Yeah. I was just saying, man, you're getting all choked up about the pick, man. Like,
I just love it so much.
Now I know what to get you for Christmas. Norman Lott jersey. I like that pick. Defensive tackle, putting pressure on the quarterback, disrupting things. Chris Jones, you mentioned, getting a little bit older, might be a little bit thin there, and the interior of the line. So, solid pick. Tennessee's a big time program that lots of players picked, and Chiefs, they got Trey Smith, right? He was from Tennessee. They got good line, offensive line and defensive line there in the SEC. So yeah, big guy that can get after the quarterback. Not only that, but you mentioned Bo. I think it was his tackles, right? He's not just sacking the quarterback. He's not like a one-trick pony where he's just racking up a bunch of sacks. So he's getting tackles too, and he's around the ball, right? That's what that tells me. When you have a guy that's getting a lot of sacks and getting a lot of tackles, that's a guy that has an instinct and is a guy that's making plays. And, first person that comes to mind when I think about that is old man Dirty Dan, right? It was a guy that just seemed like he was always around the ball. Whenever there was a play happening, like he was there, like he was making tackles and he was recovering fumbles. And so, yeah, look, if you Chiefs have got a guy that maybe can take the torch from Chris Jones when he gets a little bit older and is looking at maybe hanging him up or is past his prime, that's a solid pick in the second round. Like it. So when you guys got the list there, the guy from Louisville, was that a second round pick as well, or was that the guy that picked in the third round?
That's the one they traded up for the third round.
The edge, yeah. So they traded up. Yeah. So guy out of Louisville, name is escaping me right now. I think one of you guys.
Gillette.
Yeah.
Ashton.
What do you think about the Chiefs, Nick, taking a edge rusher with Charles Omenihu, although he's on a 1-year deal, but he's still a younger guy. I mean, he could come in and play a full year and look really good. You're trying to get a deal worked out with Furious George. Is this a depth pick? Is this a pick for down the road? I mean, maybe the Charles Omenihu they're looking as just like a stopgap for this 1 year. Do you like that pick? What do you think about this guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's for depth, and maybe they're not seeing the development out of Felix Anudike-Uzomah that they thought, right? That they haven't got the value out of that pick. I think he was picked towards the end of the first round.
The last project first round draft pick.
Yep.
He was picked.
So, and he's a local guy,
I know. I'm being an ass.
Nobody wins them all, but I think that it's a position of need, right? Like I was just saying that the Chiefs really struggled getting sacks last year. I think Furious George led the team with 7 or 8. I think it was 8 sacks last year, but then those other 2 or 3 guys that they had on the team like combined for 7 sacks. Right now, I know that Omenihu didn't play the whole season, and he's coming back from injury, so hopefully he's back to his old self, right, and can play a full season this year. But it's something that the Chiefs struggle getting to the quarterback, especially like we've talked a lot about their struggles on third and long. And a lot of that's because they weren't able to get pressure, right? They weren't able to disrupt plays a lot, and that allowed them to get those like 3rd and 12s, 3rd and 13s, where the quarterback just had enough time to wait for that guy to get open downfield. So I think that this is just another good pick, right? And I think that this is exactly what we need. We've got a solid linebacker core. And now we're just looking at fortifying that defensive line.
Yeah. What do you think about the edge player? You like that pick, Bo?
Yeah, sure. I think with this pick, it really showed how much the Chiefs were able to look in the mirror and really analyze, like, all right, what were our weak points last year? Nick was kind of beating around it, right? We didn't really get to the quarterback when we needed it in our playoff run, in the Super Bowl, anything, right? Like we just weren't really getting home. So it definitely adds that element to there. And then, even with Charles Omenihu coming back, he's coming back off of an Achilles, and right, and so it's just like, yeah, like it's great to have depth in that position. You're just one injury away from not having an edge rusher at that point. Yeah, I like the overall depth that it brings to that position. And we'll get into it with the next pick though, but like that fact, the O-line, and then like getting burnt over the top, I think were like our three biggest weaknesses, and I think we did a really good job of addressing those.
All right. Good point by Gio in the chat there. Not sure if you're new. I don't recognize that name, but welcome.
Oh, there's Bloody Grass.
Yeah, I saw Chief Bloody Grass in there. I was gonna give him a shout out here next, but yeah, look, you saw what that can do for your defense if you can get pressure on the quarterback rushing for in the Super Bowl. That was what was the Chiefs' undoing right against the Eagles, was their ability to get pressure without blitzing and having four solid guys there on the line. And yeah, you get that depth. You can give Furious George a little bit of a breather, right? You can cycle a guy in and out. I don't think the Chiefs have given up on FAU, their first-round draft pick from a couple years ago, but I also don't think that they're necessarily counting on a lot from him at this point. And so that kind of tells you all you need to know when they're picking edge. I don't know a lot of people thought that was a position of need necessarily. Chiefs obviously felt that it was. Guys from Louisville, not a powerhouse program, but I mean that's a solid, well-known school, right? Lamar Jackson played there, so there's been good players that have come out of Louisville. Looks like our man Chief Bloody Grass here had some knee surgery. Sorry to hear that, man. Hopefully,
Glad you're up and about, man.
Yeah. Yeah, good to see you back in the chat. Really appreciate it. Hopefully that recovery comes along well for you, man. It's tough. Been able to avoid surgeries. The one knee, though, I'm starting to wonder at points. Like, man, how long is that going?
Accident? Double knee surgery?
Yeah, So the Chiefs, I mean, went with an interior lineman and edge guy, right? And with those picks, so reinforcements along the line. Offensive line in the first round, and those two guys on the defensive line. So Chiefs kind of, like you said, Bo, doing some self-scouting there and looking and seeing what they needed to do. So who's the next pick now? I'm losing track of my picks here. Who'd they get?
Noel Williams? Noel Williams.
Noel Williams. Cornerback.
The CB.
Wasn't he after the wide receiver, or did he come before?
No, he was fourth round before they picked Royals.
He was our second, third round pick.
Right. Cornerback, secondary. The Chiefs, they draft secondary players, corners, probably better than anybody in the league.
Right.
Chiefs have picked up Trent McDuffie's fifth-year option as well, being a first-round pick. There's some reports out there that the Chiefs are working on a Trey Smith extension, and then priority B right after that is going to be to get Trent McDuffie a new deal. I think you saw a little bit of lack of depth at that position, right? They let guys go. They traded Snead. You saw when there was some guys missing time last year when the Jalen Watson injury occurred, and you saw some of those backups, Najee Johnson. Didn't look great. So Chiefs go corner. Nick, what do you think about this player? You like the pick going corner in the secondary?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that we've got one side of the field locked down. I think that Hicks you're going to see in his second year start to play better, but I mean, you can't just have two guys, right? Like in case somebody gets injured, and it's a rotational position too, because those guys are streaking down the field. So like if we can have depth at that position to help out, I mean, you said it, but I think we all saw where, there are certain guys on the team that got picked on, and if we can add depth at that position, I mean, it just helps everybody else out, right? I mean, like we're fortifying the line. If you can keep guys covered longer, that just helps them get sacks. So
yeah. And if you can get pressure, vice versa, right? If you can get pressure, that also makes the corners' jobs easier. So those kind of go hand in hand. Yeah, I like the pick. Secondary to me is kind of like the Chiefs' MO, right? They're going to pick a guy or two every year at that position. And when a guy like Snead or one of these other guys kind of gets a little bit older, they're going to, instead of paying premium money, Trent McDuffie might be the exception to that rule, obviously with his age. And just being, I mean, he's an all-pro corner. So I think Chiefs definitely want to keep that guy. They brought in Christian Fulton, so that's more like a stopgap thing, right? That guy, I don't think they look at him as some guy who's going to play in the secondary for the next 5 years or anything. So I like to pick secondary. To me, man, like corners, they're those like guys that are really, really hard to find. They're like the quarterback or the wide receiver of the defense. That's a skill position that is difficult to get guys and play. It's the toughest job in sports. A lot of people say playing corner in the NFL with the way the rules are. So solid pick. What school did he come out of? Was he from California?
California.
Yeah.
Gio brought this up. I guess he had the second most INTs out of the draft class. So that's awesome, man.
I want to say an interception of the first overall pick quarterback that went to Tennessee with Cam Ward.
Oh, Cam, yeah.
So I think I saw that he had a pick off of that guy. Well, you like to see that. Bo, Chiefs picking corners. I mean, can you just bank on this dude stepping in and being a good corner at this point?
I mean, with Spags and his company developing young backs the way we do, I mean, that's just like you kind of said, it's a Chiefs MO.
Yeah.
We get this position young, we pay them pretty cheap, and man, we make them work hard, and they turn out for us, man. We've had, I mean, if you look at our defenses over the past like 4 or 5 years, I mean, it's like top 5, top 10, like top tier defenses, and they're all young guys for the most part, right? Now extending Snead's contract, I mean, it kind of gets him cheap, unless like they rework his deal and everything. He'd be like pay wise, he's middle tier, right? Like compared to like some of the what the top end guys are getting paid. But no, I really like this pick for us. It's one of those positions you always need depth at. Give guys breaks. This dude's fast. He's got a knack for the game. Like we were just mentioning, 14-something interceptions in a year. Just has a real good feel for it. Able to pounce on the ball. Again, his highlight tapes are really fun to watch. Just like you get excited, right? You're just like, oh man, I really hope this just translates immediately. Because if it does, you're just like, here we go. I had that feeling with like Leo Chenal. And like, while it didn't like immediately pan out, I'm really liking what he's doing now, and like I'm really looking forward to what he's doing. But like, I see like that kind of potential in this guy.
Yeah, when you pick guys in these middle rounds, it starts to get more and more of a gamble, right? And look, it's just the NFL is such a difficult league to play in that not everybody's going to come and be a star. But I almost just think that you can almost take it to the bank that when the Chiefs draft a corner, especially like in these middle rounds, I mean, they got guys in the 6th and 7th round that have been really good. So
we'll pluck guys out of Wendy's and make them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Literally, the one guy, right, Jalen Watson was working at a Wendy's. That was before he went back to college. So Chief Bloodygrass, a big fan of Brett Beach. Hard to argue with the results. So looks like I've got Pepe. Looks like maybe he's new. Good to see you. Appreciate you checking in.
Here's some tapping. You guys tapping? Somebody tapped something?
He I did not see that he had donated his NIL money. So
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very generous. The guy's put out a few videos, and he's just like, I'm just ready to get to work and help the team do what I can. He's saying the right things. Productive player at Louisville, so I am excited, and I do like that pick. Looking forward to seeing what he can do on the team. Come in, reinforcements on the defense and the pass rush, which, as Nick pointed out, was lacking last year, especially when compared to years past, right, when the Chiefs were leading or when the top 2 or 3 teams in the NFL in sacks. Be nice to get back to that. Chiefs finally go back to offense with Jalen Royals. Feel like with the name Royals and the Kansas City Royals,
Kind of fortuitous, right?
Just they had to, you know.
yeah, it was just like Brett Beach is sitting there. He's like, man, you know how many jerseys we're gonna sell this dude? So
Yeah.
How many Royals, Chiefs jerseys
Right.
we're going to sell?
right, that's a marketing dream right there, merchandising gold mine. So I would like to have seen the Chiefs. I mentioned earlier, I wanted them to take Luther Burden in the first round. Would have liked to have seen the Chiefs go earlier in the draft with one of those earlier picks at wide receiver. But when they passed on Burden and then he went before they got back to him, I kind of felt like there was a drop off. It wasn't as deep of a wide receiver class as maybe running back in some of these other positions. So I understand why the delay in getting to the guy. When you look at his numbers at Utah State, right? It's a college.
Believe so.
Not necessarily a Tennessee or an Ohio State, but the guy had some eye-popping numbers as far as big plays, speed. Unlike some of these other middle-round receivers we've gotten from small schools that weren't really fast or all that big, this guy, he is much more of an athlete. And so I'm excited about the pick. I want to see what the guy can come in and do. Rookie wide receivers take a while to acclimate themselves and get involved in the Andy Reid offense, so I don't know how much you see out of him this year. Maybe if Hollywood Brown, I mean, obviously not hoping for that, but hope for the best, plan for the worst, right? If he misses time with injury, if Rashee Rice is going to be missing some time with suspension, maybe he gets thrust into a little bit bigger role and gets an opportunity to prove himself. Bo, what do you think about Royals? And you like that pick? You think he's a guy that can maybe contribute early?
Yeah, maybe it's going to be interesting to see the fringe receivers and the competition that's going on there. Again, you were talking about like living in Groundhog's Day a little bit. Like that's what we were talking about last year. Like, all right, we got these guys. Who is going to be on the fringe making the team, right?
Right.
Again, like when you just watch highlight tapes, I just get so excited. Like, yeah, dude, yeah, of course he can, man. Have you seen these catches that he's made? He's only dropped like 4 out of 160 passes or something like that. Like, you get really psyched.
I'll change when he gets here.
Right, doesn't necessarily translate and all that stuff, but no, it's just one of those positions again. Like when the Chiefs look back at themselves, I think they really got hurt in positions where they lacked depth, and I think that they're just kind of addressing that problem a little bit, right? Like whether it's load management or like just getting ahead of injuries a little bit. I think we see a little bit more. It was wild because like 3 seasons ago we saw Mahomes like go to like 12 receivers a game, and they definitely dialed that back down last year, right? With only going like 6 or 7, right? So I think we kind of open it up a little bit more and like see on the upper echelon of how many receivers he actually goes to, and I could see us like kind of cycling receivers out a little bit and seeing who our weapons actually are at this point, right? And like I think they have the same concerns you have as far as like our top receivers being kind of liabilities. Like you expect Marquise Brown to play or Hollywood Brown to play a full season, like that's kind of a bad bet. You know, Rashee's going to definitely miss time regardless. So you're just going to need some boots to fill. So.
All right. Good to see you back in the chat. We missed you.
Yeah, heal up, bro.
Heal up, man. Get well soon. We'll
get ready for this season.
Keep looking for you. Yeah. Nick, what do you think about the wide receiver?
So you might check your mic or something. Sounds like it's scratching.
It's like tapping or scratching.
Yeah. I don't know. Might be clicking. Hold on. Nick, talk about Royals and what you think he can bring to the team.
Yeah. Look, I'm excited. He's not 5'10". He's he's 6 feet, right? This is average height for a wide receiver, right? Good in that mid range size guy. Look, from what I've seen, he has good hands, right? And I'm always excited to hear that we're picking up guys that are known for catching the ball. We know that over the last couple of years that we've had issues with drops, right? I see that it looked like towards the end of the season, Worthy started kind of rounding out there with. I mean, he didn't necessarily have drops so much as he wasn't staying in bounds, but I'm cautiously optimistic, right? It's a 5th round wide receiver, so it's not something that I'm gonna be going all Justin Ross over, but look, it's a good pick, dude. If the guy is really good, the jersey potential, like you said, is awesome. He'll fit right in here in Kansas City, and let's see what he's got, man.
Immediately adopted by the city, right? Just instantly loved.
Yeah, I unplugged it and plugged it back in, so we'll see if that clears out. I just hope
Have you tried turning it off and back on again?
right, yeah, that's a. I was always wondering, is that like the first class that when you go to like an IT school, like you get like an IT degree, like the 101 class is like unplugging and plugging back in the equipment, like powering it off. Did you turn it off, turn it back on? So I didn't turn the phone off.
It
turn
works
it back
like
on,
90% of the time.
yeah, I don't know that it's a little bit of an older headset, but it seems like it's been working okay. So, yeah, I like the pick. I would have liked to have seen a wide receiver earlier, but they didn't go there. He's an intriguing prospect. These late round guys, man, it's a kind of a crapshoot, right? I don't know why, because there's been lots of really good players from these smaller schools, but I like it when you're picking guys that have played at, like we were mentioning, like an Ohio State or a Tennessee or a Missouri or one of these bigger conference Power 5 teams.
Yeah,
jumping up from
right?
Utah State to the NFL, man, it's a big leap. But I mean, he dominated his competition, right? Maybe it's a big fish in a small pond kind of thing. So it doesn't always necessarily mean that it's not going to work out for a guy. But when I see the small school name there next to the player, it kind of gives me pause. But like I said, definitely not like something that is going to block the guy from being a good player. We'll see. Need necessitates him maybe getting involved more coming in there, but as a rookie, it'll be neat to see what he does.
Probably be seeing him on special teams, my guess, right?
Right.
More or less, yeah.
The linebacker was the next pick. That's the biggest head scratcher of all the picks. Feels like with bringing Nick Bolton back and you got Leo Chanel, right? It feels like you're pretty good at linebacker. You pick a guy with a late round pick. Bo, what did you think about the Chiefs going linebacker there in the 6th round, right? And is this just a depth piece? Is this a guy that was just maybe like too good athletically to pass up on?
Yeah, I think the athleticism is the key there, right? I think it's one of those things when the Chiefs were like, having that self-reflective moment, analyzing where did we really get burned last year? Like, while we do have solid linebackers and it's a solid core, like it's not the fastest linebacking core, and there were some instances where we got burned over the top, right? So maybe like a more athletic, faster linebacker maybe eases that problem a little bit. I'm not saying that our linebacking core is a problem, but I'm just thinking they looked at every little problem where they got either like we were discussing our third down problem, like our third down issues, like every way we got burned. I think they were just kind of like, all right, what are some common through lines here? And I think speed on the linebacking core is one of them, and I think that's why we saw this pick. Yeah, it was confusing to me too. I would have liked to see either another cornerback or like maybe another offensive weapon. I know I wanted to go. I wanted defensive heavy draft, and I got it, but a little surprising though. For that position.
Nick, what do you think about the Chiefs picking a linebacker in the late round?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, we've got Bolton and Tranquil and Chenal, right? They're all really good players. It's a good core there. Probably the weakness is in coverage, right? And it looks like the kind of scouting report on this guy is that he's got some speed, right? And so hopefully it's somebody that can help out on passing downs. We've got, some good guy, linebackers for stuffing the run and stuff, but I mean, just helping out with that, like crossing patterns and stuff. And I mean, that's the Chiefs linebacking core isn't known for being great at stopping the pass, right? We've, famously on the show, one time said that Nick Bolton wasn't super great with coverage, and somebody blew up on us in the comment section, the wonderful YouTube comment section. But I just think that they're just looking at addressing their weaknesses, and it's a good pick, right? I mean, it's not necessarily a position of need, but if that's like like kind of like a best available situation and it fits like something that you can get better at.
Yeah.
It just having great defense just makes like it lowers the bar for winning, right? Because you don't have to score as many points. So
Yeah, it was definitely, like I said, the biggest head scratcher for me. Feel like with the extension of Nick Bolton, you've got Leo Chanel locked in, Drew Tranquil. He's going to be back on the team this year. He's played really well. Maybe if he departs next season, maybe then you look at a linebacker. But if the guy was there and it was clearly the best player available situation, I don't have an issue with them taking him. The Chiefs' defense is about getting pressure and covering. So I don't know. If he can maybe come in and coverage like a third down linebacker, a guy that gives you maybe adds to that ability. There's no doubt the Chiefs linebacking like is stuffing the run, which as we saw all year last year, Chiefs didn't give up a 100-yard rusher. Chiefs linebacking core is solid there, so maybe it brings a little bit of versatility. Not necessarily a bad pick or a pick that I didn't like, but I just kind of was not expecting them to go linebacker in the draft this year. But I guess they felt like the guy was there, and it was too good of a player to pass up at that point. Chiefs rounded out the draft, right? The final pick in the 7th round, the running back, SMU, Rashard Smith. Did I get the name right?
Yep.
Yep.
These names are all kind of jumbling up my head here. Getting old.
Last one, you nailed it.
Right. He's I feel like he's like the 7th round pick, but he's the second most talked about player the Chiefs draft this year. I don't know how much that has to do with Isaiah Pacheco as a fan favorite. He was the 7th round running back pick. This pick to me, it was a little disappointing. I know that people were talking about how deep the running back class was in this draft. I know I've famously kind of downplayed the importance of the running back position on this show before, but I really was looking for the Chiefs to get a running back in one of these names. I thought you were going to see that in earlier rounds. The guy's got some big play potential. He had some eye-popping numbers. He's got speed to burn. But to me, man, like a 7th round running back is you're really rolling the dice with the guy. He's a converted wide receiver. He's played running back 1 year. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm disappointed in the pick. I'm not saying that I'm not intrigued and somewhat excited by the player, but I was really hoping that the Chiefs were going to address running back a little bit earlier in the draft. Nick, what do you think about this guy? And were you kind of hoping or expecting the Chiefs to go running back earlier?
Yeah, I was definitely hoping, right? It was a running back heavy draft. And so you think that, you can get a guy maybe in the 3rd round that is still like kind of like premium talent, right? And so, it's a position of need. We don't like I love Isaiah Pacheco, right? I love Kareem Hunt. But they're not home run hitters, right? And if you could get a guy in like the 3rd round or even 2nd round, like late 2nd round, that you think could be like a home run hitter, right? Somebody that defenses have to game plan around. In addition to it, like we saw it when, we had Kareem Hunt the first time. Like defense is just like they couldn't do anything, right? Because it's like, okay, well, you can play back, but Kareem Hunt will just stomp all over your face, right?
Right. Yeah. No.
So I just feel like, that's it's a miss, right? On the Chiefs offense. They've kind of, been mediocre to subpar at running back, I think for too long. And I think that it's hard to say that anything is hurt the Chiefs, right? Because they've gone to 3 straight Super Bowls, but just because you keep winning doesn't mean that you didn't make it harder on yourself to win, because
right.
Somebody that could have been there to really help out Patrick, right, and take some of the pressure off of him. We didn't really invest highly at that position. So yeah, I was somewhat disappointed. But Maybe the other way to look at it is like, well, this is like a 7th round guy that last year would have been a 5th round guy, right? And so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Bo, did the Chiefs wait too long? Did they buy maybe too much into this is a running back heavy draft, so we can wait until the very end? I mean, what do you think about the pick? And were you hoping or expecting to do something sooner at the running back position?
I immediately thought of Nick when this pick happened, right? Because he was talking about wanting a running back sooner than that. I mean, it's one of those 7th round. It's your last pick. You're kind of looking at what's left, and like, not trying to diminish any of these players' talents because they're all really
good.
Yeah. Like, but
right.
You're kind of just like, we're looking around, seeing, do I take the best player at this position, at this position? I think the Chiefs were kind of in the mindset that they always wanted to take a running back. And they're like, all right, what's left at running back? Here we go, right? I'm with Nick. It's been a while since we've had a like an ace in the hole running back wise, but I think it's okay because we don't need that. We have Patrick Mahomes, right? We have an ace in the hole quarterback wise now. We've always had subpar quarterbacks, and like I think it'll be all right. And with this pickup, I like it because like some of his best critiques are not critiques, but like some of like what people are saying about him, what they really like about him is his ability to see downfield and really navigate the field and get those extra yards, which is like one of our biggest praises of like a Kareem Hunt over an Isaiah Pacheco, right? Just his ability to feel the game, see what's coming, and get those yards. And that really goes a long way when you start looking at like catching out of the back or even blocking out of the back. And I think that it'll be fine in the long run, right? It's just like I just don't think we're getting that home run hitter that Nick mentioned with this guy necessarily.
Yeah, the guy's got speed. Isaiah Pacheco is a fast running back that they picked in the 7th round. To me, man, you're just at this point in the 7th round, you're just hopeful the guy can make the roster. He's a bit of a project. There's a lot of question marks. Like I said, with him being new to the position, especially. I mean, the second year you're going to play running back is going to be in the NFL. I was definitely hopeful they would have gone and addressed the running back position and just given Patrick a little bit. Look, I'm not the biggest running back fan on this show. I think the game has clearly gone to it's a passing league, but you have to have something there to at least make the defense somewhat more honest, and you have to like get that respect and a little bit of fear. And I think you've seen it like with the dink and dunk offense. Maybe that's unfair to call it that, but it has not been an aired out offense. And I think a big part of that has been because teams have just been able to settle on that like too high, basically prevent defense because they're not worried about the Chiefs running backs gouging them or hurting them or making a big play. I think this says a lot about what the Chiefs are expecting out of Isaiah Pacheco this coming season. I think the Chiefs are looking at Pacheco as a guy who came back maybe a little bit, rushed himself back from injury, and wasn't 100%. And what you saw out of him at the end of last year isn't what they're expecting to see this coming year. But even in previous years when healthy, I mean, I know he's been able to get up over that 1,000-yard mark rushing and receiving, but if you look at his like long runs and his career longs, they're not up there with some of these other, I don't even want to say top tier. I don't want to say top 3 running backs, like top 10, top 15. I mean, to me, Isaiah Pacheco is he's a mid-level, he's an average running back in the NFL. And I would love to see like this. I saw a stat, I want to say it was on the radio they were talking about. I was like, the Chiefs had 2 or 3 runs of over 20 yards last year. That's just not good enough in the NFL. I'm not saying the Chiefs need to go into being a Marty Ball, run the ball and play defense team, but they need to get more than they've gotten out of running back the last 2 or 3 years. And I like Kareem being on the team. I like him in short yardage situations, goal line, back, right. But you saw plays where he got past the line. He didn't have that burst or that speed to get past and into the next level.
Those years are just past him.
He wasn't in shape. He didn't have a training camp. We plucked him off the couch, man.
Okay, maybe. We'll see. But
we plucked him off the couch, man. I swear.
Yeah, I was really hoping that they were gonna do something a little bit sooner and make a little bit of splash to that position.
What do you think Isaiah Pacheco's longest run is? Like, how many yards do you think his longest run is?
Oh, I've looked that up before. I want to say it's like in the 50 yards.
Yeah, 51 is what I was going to say.
48 yards.
Yeah, okay. That's not very good for a guy who's been a starting running back in the NFL for what, 3 seasons now?
50s too, yeah.
It's not very good. I was guessing 50s as well. I mean, you look at these other guys.
He was hurt
and
most of the season last
Christian,
year.
yeah, but I mean, you look at like guys like Christian McCaffrey or some of these other guys. I mean, hell, there's Damian Williams. I was on the team a few years ago. He had an 80-yard touchdown run against the Vikings. I mean, you haven't been able to bust off one 70, 80-yard run. And
the kid in Detroit that's just out from the gates, just popping off runs. Like,
right, yeah.
Well, and it's not necessarily just, what's his longest run, right? But like how many like 15 to 20-yard runs does he have, right? Like does he have that ability where like he can get a chunk play at any time, where it makes people think about, okay, like we've got to focus on this guy too, right?
Yeah.
Like we're probably not going to be getting a CMC or like a Saquon Barkley where we're picking in the draft, right? Like that's probably just goes without saying that those guys are not going to be available. But can we get somebody that's upper tier, right? Can we find somebody in a running back heavy draft that just like takes some of the pressure off of Patrick, right? Like I just kind of feel like they just go, okay, like we're going to work on this other stuff, like offense, Patrick, you good? And it's like, we got you a tackle. It's like, so now they did get him Worthy last year, right? So they got him a first round wide receiver last year, but I just feel like a good receiving core plus a good running back just makes the world like a whole hell of a lot easier, right? For the team to score, and they struggled on offense last year. So
a little surprised they didn't get a tight end. Nick, I know you had talked about maybe looking at Travis Kelce's replacement with retirement on the horizon. Definitely going to be back, obviously, this year, but after that is uncertain. He's going to play this contract out. Surprised, disappointed, no tight end in this draft?
Yeah, look, we saw some sparks out of Gray last year. He played well. There were even people saying, well, he's kind of like maybe the number one guy now at a couple points in the season, right? But nobody's sitting there talking about Noah Gray like he is one of the better tight ends in the league, right? They're just saying that maybe he had some sparks where he was the better tight end on the Chiefs. And so, like, you've got this upcoming season, maybe one more, right? Until like there's probably an exit strategy there. And I just feel like that's like the amount of time you're going to need to get somebody into Andy Reid's system, get them to where they understand the offense and get them to where they're performing. Right. And so if you're looking at, some of the comments earlier saying the Chiefs draft 2 or 3 years ahead, to me, like that's another one of those 2 or 3 year ahead, like plans. And maybe they've got somebody that they're scouting in next year's draft. And they're like, well, now we're good on tight end because we're going to probably be able to, maybe pick up this kid next year. I mean, they've been able to keep like the team playing at a high level for several years. So I hope there's a plan there. But yeah, I would have liked to see that, right? Another option, somebody that like this is going to be like the passing of the torches. This is the future plan, right? Maybe that is Noah Gray. I just haven't seen enough out of Gray like consistently to say that like I would like see him as like the guy that's going to replace Travis Kelce when he retires.
Right, as the lead dog, right?
Right.
Yeah, I haven't really seen a role.
Yeah, sure.
Bo, I mean, are they punting the next year? Or is it just they don't? What do you think it was? They just didn't see a guy they liked. Not necessarily a tight end heavy draft.
I didn't hear too much about this draft class being tight end heavy or that many all stars and tight end. I do think we did pick up some UDFAs, undrafted free agents. That I think we picked up 1 or 2 tight ends actually. So
yeah,
there's like that crapshoot route, right? There's the idea though, if you pick up a tight end, is like, are you like kind of poking the bear at like Travis Kelce? You don't want to like upset him too much, right? Like I'm kind of like drafting like a quarterback when you have a star quarterback kind of thing, right? Like I think there's a balance there that they're trying to play. It's just one of those positions too that like because we've had such good ones over the years with Tony and Trav, right? Like that like. When you look at the rest of the league, there's only like 3 or 4 tight ends in the league that are that effective, as Travis Kelce, right? Or they get that much like talk as being like dominant, right? So I think a guy like Gray gets lost in the midst of like, there's the Kelce's and the Andrews and like all these Njokus and stuff that are like, dogs. But no, I think that is a can you can kick down later or kick down the road a little bit later because I mean Kelsey did sign 2 more years and he still is the man, right? And you still have that. There's plenty of time to develop people, so I think it's one of those things you can wait on.
Overall grade, go around the circle here. I'll go first. I'm giving the Chiefs a B+. There's too many question marks around the first round pick for me, and to wait that late to get offensive players and again select more defense and offense for me. I can't bring myself to give them an A. No one wants to think about after Patrick, or I'm not suggesting like he's getting into the end of his career, but I mean, we're going into what, year 8 now with this dude, man. Like, they need to be giving him more weapons. They need to be making life a little bit easier on him. So I like the picks. I think they picked good, solid guys, but I just wait until the 7th round to get a project running back who kind of is new to the position, and another mid to late round small school wide receiver. To me, when you match that up with, they again picked more defensive players and offensive players after they've done that for the last 2 or 3 seasons, I just can't give them an A. Nick, what's your letter grade? What grade are you giving the Chiefs on the draft?
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty close to you in that A-B+ range. Look, we do have to acknowledge that the Chiefs they're drafting like at the bottom of the draft every year, right? And so like it's just a much harder task. And if you look at it, they were able to get somebody that was, de facto one of the most talented people at their position in the first round and trade back to pick up a 5th, right? Yeah. You look at some of the positions of need that we had that they addressed. I mean, I think that's a good grade. I know that, like when I read draft grades, like I think 2 things. One, like we don't really know, right? Like we're just going off of what we think, the best data that we have available. And then 2, I always see it's like everybody ranks everybody as like an A- or a B+. And it's like, right. Okay, well, it's only one of 2 things, but I think that, they definitely do a better job than a majority of the teams, right? So I feel good with what they did. I think that they got some good pickups. And really, it's like if we can just get the left tackle freaking sorted and shore up that offensive line, I just think that like it's going to be a much different team on the field for offense next year. So
what grade are you giving them?
I said A- B+. I'll go B+.
You said B+, A-. You said 3 grades. I need to get out.
I can't pick like all of them. I got to pick one.
I'm giving an A, B, and a C. There's multiple classes and courses here. Bo, I know you're pretty happy with the draft. You gonna give him an A?
Yeah. I'll stick with an A-. Not A. I'll give him an A. Right? Just for like taking a step back at the 10,000-foot view and looking at the draft as a whole. I think they addressed so many issues. I mean, you're not going to solve everything in the draft, right? There's still a lot of kinks that need to get worked out, and only time can tell with these guys that we got if they're really going to pan out. And generally, that isn't the case, right? Usually, only 1 or 2 kind of hit every year. If we get 1 or 2, great, because I think like in the positions we drafted, that's what we need. We need 1 or 2 of those positions to really hit, to really have like a game changing team. So A-. I think they did really well. I think they did a lot of good self reflection, and they weren't afraid to address a lot of their weaknesses. So
yeah. I mean, Pepe's bringing up Elijah Mitchell. Look, when the Chiefs brought him in, if you go back, you can ask Nick and Bo, they'll vouch for him, or you can go back and watch the show. I was extremely high. I loved them bringing Elijah Mitchell in, but the injuries, it's getting he's in that territory like a Hollywood Brown or one of these guys where I just don't think you can count on the guy to be healthy at this point. And if he is, and he comes in, he's got home run ability. He's an electric guy. Kind of start wondering like who's going to be the odd man out at running back. If you've got Isaiah Pacheco, you've got Kareem Hunt. They brought in Elijah Mitchell. They've got the draft pick. Like someone's not making the team, right? They're not going to have 4 or 5 running backs. Carson Steele is a guy who was a preseason hero last year and came in and had 1 fumble and then kind of was like, you didn't hear much from Carson Steele.
Right.
Aside from the Week 18 game against the Broncos where he got a lot of action. What's his role on the team? I mean, you're talking about there's going to be guys that aren't going to make it. 7th round pick, I mean, a lot of the times, man, that's a guy that has a hard time, right, making the team. So, look, like B+ is a good grade. I feel like it sounds like I don't like the draft or something. I do. I was just hoping for more offense, and offense earlier, I guess, is really the my biggest complaint about the draft. Any other draft stories? I mean, draft things you guys want to talk about? If you got a question in the chat, make sure you give us your letter grade. I'd like to see what Pepe's got to say. Big Doug, Laney, what grade do you give the Chiefs on the draft this year? The other biggest story, right, was the Shedeur Sanders thing. Would he go in the first round? Would he not go in the first round? He didn't go until what, the 5th round?
5th round.
Right.
To the Browns. Is that too low? Did he slide too far, Nick? I mean, Shedeur Sanders, I wasn't rooting for the guy to slide. I feel like there's this narrative that, like, if you didn't think he was a first-round talent, then you were a hater and you were, like, rooting and, like, cheering for him and, like, getting a bunch of satisfaction out of the awkwardness or the misery or whatever you want to call it of him sliding. I mean, I didn't really get any satisfaction out of it. What do you think, Nick? Shedeur Sanders, is that about right for him? Did he fall too far?
I mean, I think I don't know. I don't think that him and or his family did him any favors in helping his draft position, right? I think that, like, I've listened to a couple of things. Probably what I heard that made the most sense was if he didn't get drafted like in the first round there, especially with this was like a quarterback light draft, right?
Yeah.
That means that most people are viewing him as a backup. And then as a backup, like your personality and how you act around the team actually matters more than like your play, right?
Man.
And I think that, like going and telling several teams don't draft my son, right? Like not having an agent, like I think that all that stuff kind of put off like the new term is like gives you the ick, right? Like it's like I got the ick about Sanders, and I think that teams are just like no. And even if you watch the draft room when the Browns drafted him, like the coach and the GM like were not excited about the draft pick. So I don't know if like the owner was just like, dude, like this guy. I mean, he was like the most valuable player on the left on the board, right? Mel Kiper's board for like 100 picks or something. And so I hope that he's a young guy, right? I hope that he can, maybe it's a good experience. Like if he gets an opportunity there in Cleveland and he gets the opportunity to play and he can show that he can be a good teammate and that like some of that stuff was like maybe overblown in the media. But yeah, I mean, I think based on like his record in college, his arm strength, plus all the other kind of media circus that kind of follows him, I think that was probably the right position. I was still surprised, right? I mean, because you keep thinking that he's going to get drafted, but probably it was about right if you factor all of those things in.
Bo, what do you think about Shedeur Sanders? I mean, did he slide too far? I mean, what did you think about that whole ordeal?
Dude, the funny thing about that whole Sanders situation for me is there are guys out there who get paid more than the 3 of us combined to analyze the draft that got this completely wrong, right? So, like, I feel good about, like, I didn't get my picks right or something like that. It's just, it's such a weird crapshoot. But it also, like, it reminded me, it had hints of Russell Wilson, a la, like, the Team 3 nonsense and his management stuff. And, like, if you hire me, you have to talk to my publicist first. You don't talk to me. Right. You talk to this guy. I'm 3 people away from you. It had shades of that, and just like I don't think anybody wanted to touch that. Combined with like I just don't think he was that good. I was surprised because everything I read had him going in the first round, and if anything, like early second round, right? For all the reasons kind of Nick laid out. So it was a little bit of a surprise to me in that sense because I was reading that like, yeah, he was going to go, but it just really shows you like how far Deion Sanders can like buy his way into that. Like it's wild to think that like a quarterback who has his jersey retired at his school, at his college school,
Fifth round pick.
Fifth round, right? Like that doesn't seem like that's the usual. So it's just it was a wild situation where it just felt like there was just too much baggage tied up in that name, and everybody just kind of passed on him. It's one of those things like, well, time will tell if his talent's good enough. I for his sake, I really hope it is. I hope he's good enough that he can go in and just shut everybody up. But there's just something like Nick's saying. There's something icky about watching a college kid flaunt his Rolex and like dude, there's a reason you're the only one kind of doing that, man, right? Like not everybody has Deion Sanders money, so
it's weird, like because if you look at Pepe's comment here, it's like his father's the name is the reason he shot up the boards, but like it's like he was like simultaneously the reason that he was like considered up for the first and that he didn't get drafted until the fifth. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, double-edged sword, right?
And I think owners just kind of looked at it like that Russell Wilson situation, just like I don't want to deal with that.
I don't want Deion Sanders calling me and telling me I'm not doing things right for his son.
I don't even want to deal with Deion Sanders. Like how I bet you that's the feeling with the majority of GMs and coaches across the league. Like I don't want to deal with Deion. Like no, I just don't want to do that.
Like I lived in Denver when Tebow mania hit, right? And like after like it was like, okay, well, yeah, but this, I mean, he had that kind of weird run there where he won a bunch of games weirdly, but after that it was like, okay, so this is the guy's the backup quarterback in camp, and the media circus is falling around. And like teams were just like, nah, man, like I ain't doing that. You know?
I'll never forget my Tebow memory is when they played the Chiefs and they beat us, and he attempted like 3 passes.
Yeah, like 2 passes in one.
Yeah, he was like 3 for 5 or something like that.
Bro, I lived in Denver when that happened. That was not a good next day at work.
Yeah, those were dark days. So, yeah, the Shedeur Sanders saying, look, here's the deal. Like, he got drafted. He's going to get a chance to play. He's at the Browns, which is not where you want to land. I fear for the.
They're notoriously great at picking quarterbacks.
Yeah, I fear. I fear
he wasn't even the first quarterback they drafted, right?
Right. I fear the future of him with his name on a piece of duct tape on the back of that Browns jersey that you see goes around about every year, every other year. But look, if the guy can play, he'll get a chance to prove himself, and the cream rises to the top in the NFL, man. Like, if you can play, you'll get to play, and it don't matter what draft. I mean, look, it's cliche, right? Tired to bring up Tom Brady was a 6th round pick, but look, like there's lots of guys on the team, and there's people that get drafted in 4th, 5th, 6th round that go on to have all pro and Pro Bowl and Hall of Fame careers. It happens. So it's a meritocracy, man. If he's the best player and he can play, he'll get his chance to prove himself. So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, as one of you guys said. Like, he's a borderline player, and he's going to come with a lot of headaches, right, and a lot of baggage, and I just don't want to deal with that. Like, we'll draft somebody else that's a intriguing prospect, but far from like a can't miss Andrew Luck type situation, right? And we'll just go elsewhere. So we'll see what happens. I thought it was, I don't know, funny is not the right word to use, but the Jaguars traded up into the 2nd spot so that they could pick Travis Hunter after we talked last week. And like, is he going to be able to do both at the NFL level? And if not, like, that severely like limits it, like hurts his draft grade. And I mean, I don't know that he's the number 2 pick if he can only play corner. I don't know that I think he's a better corner prospect than he is a wide receiver prospect. Jaguars, they couldn't help themselves, right? I mean, that's why they're the Jags. What did you think, Bo, about them trading up with the Browns so they could be the team that picked Travis Hunter 2nd?
Wasn't expecting that, right? I didn't really expect the Browns to trade for that. I thought they were going to take him.
Yes.
I'm really excited to see it all unfold. To tell you the truth, right?
The
Whether
Jaguars said
Jags
they're going to
win-
let them play both. So
That's what I'm talking about. I'm ready to see it. I'm ready to see how it works, right? Like there's been some players that have kind of like transformed the game, and if this can happen, it would really transform the game as far as like
yeah,
how, like the kind of roster you field, right? If you have a guy that takes two positions, you can fill that position somewhere else, kind of thing, right? Like, is the load management going to be too tough for them to go a full season if it does kind of work out? Like I said, I'm just really curious to see how it works. They said they're going to let them try it, so yeah, fascinating draft. That was a fascinating move in the draft.
Nick, what did you think of the Jags trading up to get Travis Hunter at number 2 overall? Bad move, good move. Jury's still out.
I mean, it was expensive, right?
Expensive.
So I guess it depends on if you look at are you getting 2 players for the price of 1.5, maybe, or 1.5 if you factor in the trade, or are you getting 1.5 players for the price of 2? Look, I think he's a phenomenal talent. I think that you'll probably see him settle into a role where he's playing mostly one or the other. You say corner. I mean, I think that what they really need is Trevor Lawrence needs a good wide receiver, right? That can complement him there. So I think you'll see him mostly on offense, right? They've spent all that money on the Trevor Lawrence contract, and they got to get him somebody that can catch the ball, make big plays for him downfield. I could be wrong. I often am. But I think you'll see him. They'll probably appease him by like letting him play a couple of plays like another position, right? But you'll see him mostly center around one or the other. But yeah, I mean, you got a guy that like is a Heisman winner, that like can play like 100 plus plays in a game. I think it's a good pick. Trading up, I mean, it seemed like the Jaguars weren't just like a Travis Hunter away from being competitive last year. Now I know Lawrence got hurt, right? But like they seemed like they had more holes than just that one position, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's very wise for them specifically to trade up to draft him, but we'll see how it works out, man. And this kind of proves the point that Pepe's saying, right? Like about like kind of the talent. Now I'm not saying that Hunter like has like any other personality issues, but he did go into the draft kind of saying like, don't even draft me if like you're not going to let me play both positions and stuff like that. He still went second overall, right? So like if you got the talent to back it up, like in the NFL, like winning is king and performance is king, right? So I do agree with that 100%. Like they will let you kind of talk your shit if you can back it up. So yeah, I don't know. It was weird. I thought that seemed like a Browns pick, didn't it? Like him at number 2.
It seems like it. But yeah, like we said at the top of the show, man,
Trading seems like
the Browns are like the story of the draft, and everybody's talking about, man, they've really jump started their franchise, and they crushed the draft, and they had the best draft, and we'll see for our man Nico's sake. I hope that's the case, but they still got a question at quarterback, and as long as you've got questions at quarterback, you're far from having things figured out in the NFL. But
I like
any other draft stuff?
There, Travis Hunter made people think Shedeur was a first-round QB. I heard the comparison. He was Travis Hunter was what Mike Evans was to Johnny Manziel, right?
Just there you go.
Made him look so much better than he actually is.
Yeah, Johnny Manziel was a hell of a player. He just had too many personal issues, right? And didn't take it seriously.
Yeah, work ethic problems, right?
And he's admitted as much here in recent. Can you imagine that? Like being in that position that guy was in, having all that talent, and then now to like be like, yeah, no, I should have taken it more seriously, and I totally just blew my chance at playing a long time in the NFL. Man, God, that's got to be a bad feeling. But
it's rough.
It's got to be rough. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I think we pretty much covered it pretty well.
We had a question from Pepe that I marked here. So he's just said, if the O-line play doesn't improve, does Andy Heck get the axe?
Dude, I brought that up.
Nice guitar reference there at the end also.
There was another Andy that we needed to look at. Not Andy Reid. It was Andy Heck, right? Because the O-line just started falling apart late in the season. And I think that's a fair question. It's something to really examine, right? Like, if it doesn't improve, yeah, man, you're the guy in charge. I could see some moves being made.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he can only cook with the ingredients he's given, right? And it was obvious that Kingsley Samutaima, I didn't even try to say his last name.
Suamata, yeah.
I can say it right in my head, but it doesn't come out of my mouth right. Like, I know how it's supposed to be said, but I rarely say it right.
It sounds right.
He was just not an NFL level player. And Jawan Taylor, the penalties are really his bugaboo. And their inability to be able to, Wanya Morris injury hurt him. I think he was at least like a serviceable player, but then he got hurt, so he was bad. I don't know. Depending on where you hear about Josh Simmons, if he plays this year or not, like I said, I've heard people say that, oh yeah, he should be ready to go and he'll be in training camp, and I've heard people say, no, that's at least a year-long recovery time. Don't expect him back until end of the year or 2026. I don't know what to think about that. I mean, if he doesn't play for a year and they've got Jalen Moore out there, if he's not good, I mean, he was a backup in the 49ers, right? You're bringing a backup to be a starter, even though he was backing up probably the best player at his position in the league. I just don't know how much you put on Andy Heck. I mean, if you're going to give him all the criticism for the tackle play, you got to like give him the props for everybody. I mean, the Chiefs, the interior of the line, now that Joe Tooney's gone, maybe that changes a little bit. But Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, I mean, people talk about the middle of that line being one of the best, if not the best in the NFL. So, I mean, the guy gets credit for that, right? I've always said on this show, it's more players than it is coaches.
Yeah.
Especially at a position group, man. But, I mean, I don't know, Nick, you think the coach is in trouble at all if the line struggles to perform?
He's been with Andy Reid ever since he came to the Chiefs here, right? Like,
it's been a long time.
They've gone to, 7 AFC championships and 5 Super Bowls and won 3 of them. I just don't think that's a firing that you're going to see Andy Reid make. I just think that he knows that, that coach, he knows what he's capable of. So I just don't see it now. Should he? I don't know. I mean, I hear what you're saying, right? Like, you can only cook with the ingredients that you're given. But sometimes, like, sometimes things are so bad that it's like you wonder, like, man, is this like, can we get past this, right? Like the performance in the Super Bowl. Now I know that the line was atrocious, but the performance in the Super Bowl, like, I mean, we've had 2 Super Bowls basically where the line just like
cost us the game.
Blew the entire game for us, and it wasn't even like
was the reason.
It wasn't even like,
now,
like
at least the first time
they gave up a couple of sacks here. It was like they'd never played football before, but
yeah,
they had a turnstile right at the most important position on that line. So I don't know if it's like a fireable offense, but the Chiefs have invested a lot of like capital over the last 3 years in that position, and it hasn't developed. So I think it's a good question, but I don't think that Andy Reid will. I just don't think at this point in his career, somebody that's been with him that long that he feels like is proven, I don't think he's going to let him go. I mean,
right.
As long as he's showing up to work and working hard. So
yeah, Veach and Reid will fall on the sword there, and they'll say,
yeah,
and give him good enough players. And I mean, at least the first time too, like it was injuries that first Super Bowl against Tampa Bay, right? I mean, they lost basically
it was like the week before,
3/4 of
yeah,
right. I mean, they lost Eric Fisher in the playoffs. They had lost Mitchell Schwartz basically at the end of that year, right, with the back stuff they had going on. I mean, they were decimated with injuries. There wasn't much you could do there. Playing with backups and backups to backups at one point in the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, against a team that was their strength, right, too, was their defensive line. So, but this last go around was just their inability to either identify and draft, or teach and develop players. Because we talked about in the last show, like, there's another reason I was kind of like, man, like, do you need to reach for Josh Simmons here when you could get like a top prospect at like a wide receiver? This Burden guy has fallen, or maybe even somebody else. Like, I don't think the Chiefs necessarily have to have a top 3 offensive line in the NFL. Patrick's mobile; they can work around it. You just can't. You just can't have like a high school line out there, or like a D2 division defensive offensive line play like the Chiefs had. I mean, they didn't blitz one time the entire Super Bowl, man. That to give up that kind of pressure with never even being blitzed.
You had that thought about like Todd Haley when he finished. Like, maybe I could coach. Dude, I had the thought like maybe I could play left tackle. Right? Like all I got to do is get in the way, and that's way better than what these guys are doing. Like I feel like I can shuffle and just like give like a quarter of a second of something, but
I could like fall down and grab his ankle as he's running over the top and jumping over me. Something. Yeah.
At least fall in front of him and get stomped on. Maybe he'd fall down. Yeah, no. It was
his face coming in, or his foot coming in my face mask. He'll get stuck. Trip him up.
Right.
I think there are other teams where that would happen. I don't think that this is a team where it will happen though. And I don't know what the right call is. I mean, I
hear what
you're saying.
Right.
I would say more like, now it's like, okay, so who gets it from the scouting department if Simmons doesn't work out, right? And it's like, is that three picks now that didn't work out at the same position?
Yeah, I have a feeling if Simmons doesn't work out, it's going to be because of the injury issue, right? I mean, the talent is
it's still a scouting team thing, right?
At this point, yeah, maybe. Or you maybe look at the medical team and they gave the blessing when they shouldn't have, and he's not going to come back. So,
but like going along with the analogy, like you only cook with what the ingredients you have, right? Like some of the best meals have some of the simplest ingredients, and it's all about the way it's prepared and cooked, right? Like how does the chef put these ingredients together, and does he add them at the right time? Terrible analogy, but like
no, man, I've seen Ratatouille.
There's that coaching aspect to it, where it's like if this is your perennial problem, or like the major glaring issue as to why you lose a Super Bowl, more than one Super Bowl the same way, like is it? It might be on the coach or the chef at that point. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Gordon Ramsay's opening a restaurant in Vegas, shopping at Dollar General, but I might be wrong. I don't even know. I just took a shot at Dollar General. I love Dollar General, man.
You gotta watch Iron Chef Dad on YouTube, Scotty. He takes McDonald's and he makes it gourmet. Okay.
Right. Yeah, me too. So, all good points.
Eggs. I shop at Dollar General now too for eggs.
Right. All good points. So, it's a good show. Really enjoyed breaking down the draft. Thank you to everybody who watched. Everybody in the chat. That's some new friends. Gio, Pepe.
Yeah, Pepe Trades, baby. Let's go.
Bloody Grass, good to see you, man. Hope your knees get better.
Yeah, Chief Bloody Grass. Hopefully he's on the mend. Laney and Doug, you always know they're going to be there. So
Nico, I saw you at the top of the hour.
Nico was in the chat. So all good, man. Yeah, we'll be back. They announced the schedule release date at the draft. That was my favorite part of the draft, I think.
Scott's like, yes.
Come up here in a couple weeks. So we got a special guest lined up for the schedule release show, which is one of our favorite shows of the year.
Exciting.
Gonna make sure we get that going. So you're gonna stay tuned now to find out who the special guest is. But make sure if you haven't already, click like, click subscribe, go follow us on social medias. We'll try to be back next week. Kind of like into another little I don't want to say like a
lull in activity.
A little lull after the draft in between the schedule release, a couple weeks here, but we'll try to be back next Wednesday. Make sure you're sharing, telling your friends, family about the show. Thanks again, everybody who watched. Until next time, let's go Chiefs.
All right, let's go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.
Oh, you didn't have the video ready, did you?
I
got it.